Hey guys, it's Miss Udo, and I am here for Tuesday's math lessons on multiple representations to solve problems. All right, guys, so let's begin. Before we start, let's go ahead and make sure that we have all of our tools that we need for math instruction for today. Make sure that you have your math journal and a pencil. And if you don't have your math journal, make sure that you have a piece of scratch paper and a writing utensil. Remember, it's important that you're able to put all of your math notes in one place so that you can refer back to them at a later time if you need them. Also, please make sure that you have your Google Classroom tab open, as there is an assignment that you are going to do after this video lesson posted in Google Classroom, and you want to make sure that you can access it. And every day, we want to make sure that we come to class with an open mind and a positive attitude. Let's review our math norms. Our first norm is that errors are gifts that promote discussion. It is absolutely okay if you get an answer incorrect. When we get answers incorrect, that gives us an opportunity to talk about and think about our thinking so that we can get them correct the next time. Ask questions until ideas make sense. If there's something that you don't understand, ask your teacher a question. Put your question in a chat. That way, we can make sure that we begin to understand the math a little better. Talk about each other's thinking. While this is a little more difficult when we're virtual, the reason we use Nearpod is so that we can share our ideas with each other. We also have the ability to share our ideas when our teachers place us in small groups. Number 4, answers are important, but they are not the math. In our lessons, you will notice that a lot of questions are asked. And the reason we ask a lot of questions is because the questioning process is what helps you learn. It is way more important that we ask the questions and that we go through the process than that we get the answers. And finally, use multiple strategies and multiple representations. And that is perfect for today's lesson because today's lesson is all about using multiple ways to solve a problem. I also want to remind you while you're here that when you see a pencil on the top of the screen, that means that there is something that you probably should be writing down on that slide. Okay, guys, let's begin with our warm-up. Now remember, with the warm-up, some of these questions can be answered mentally, but others you may need to write down in your notebook. But all warm-up questions will be answered on the Nearpod. So make sure that you're thinking and paying attention and ready to answer when the question pops up on your screen. Question number 1. Kathy is paid $4 an hour for mowing the lawn. It rains, so she can't mow today. Which equation represents the amount that Kathy will get paid today? A, 4 times 1 equals $4. B, 4 times 0 equals $4. C, 4 times 1 equals $5. Or D, 4 times 0 equals $0. I'm going to read the question for you one more time. Kathy is paid $4 an hour for mowing the lawn. It rains, so she cannot mow today. Which equation represents the amount that Kathy will get paid today? Is it A, 4 times 1 equals $4? B, 4 times 0 equals $4? C, 4 times 1 equals $5? Or D, 4 times 0 equals $0? Please answer question number 1 in the Nearpod at this time. All right, everyone, it's time to check our solution. Let's take a look at our problem so that we can break it down. Our problem tells us that Kathy is getting paid $4 an hour. Let's see if I can make that a little darker for you guys. Kathy is getting paid $4 an hour. If someone makes $4 an hour, that means that for every hour they work, they make $4. In our problem, it also says that she cannot mow today because it's raining. And so Kathy is unable to work today. Kathy is not going to mow any grass on today. Well, even outside of the multiplication, guys, we can use a little bit of logic to answer this question. If Kathy normally makes $4 for every hour that she works, and today Kathy is not mowing, that means that she is working 0 hours. Well, if she makes $4 an hour, but she doesn't work any hours, she is not going to make any money. We call this the identity property of 0. Any number multiplied by 0 equals 0. So the correct answer for this warm-up question is D. 4 times 0 equals 0. Let's check out question number 2. Dylan says that when you count by sixes, all of the numbers are odd. Do you agree or do you disagree? Why or why not? Use the sentence frames below to share your answer on the Nearpod. I agree with Dylan because, or I disagree with Dylan because. I'm going to read the question one more time. Dylan says that when you count by sixes, all of the numbers are odd. Do you agree or disagree? Why or why not? You can use the multiplication table to help you. Remember, write your answer in a complete sentence in the Nearpod right now. All right, guys, well, let's check our solution. Dylan says that when you count by sixes, all of the numbers are odd. Well, let's take a look at the 6 times tables. The 6 tables are in this box. You may have also looked at them going straight across this way. One of the things that I notice about the 6 times tables are that they all end in a certain type of number. I've got 6 in the ones place of 12. I have 2 in the ones place of 18. I have an 8. The ones place of 24. I have a 4. In the ones place of 30, I have a 0. And then I have another 6, a 2, an 8, a 4, and a 0. Not only do those numbers repeat in a pattern, but they also have something in common. We call the numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0 even numbers. Because our numbers end in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0, that means that they are even and not odd. Because we know that these are even numbers, that means that we should have all disagreed with Dylan. So your sentence should say something along the lines of, I disagree with Dylan because the numbers that I see when counting by sixes are even. Let's move on into today's lesson. Our objective for today is that I can solve and represent multiplication word problems with models, drawings, and equations. Just like yesterday, we are also going to be as precise as possible in our work. We do not have a new key term for today. We are still going to use a little bit of distributive property today through the use of our models. Today's anchor chart is one for multiplication representations. This is what we are going to be taking a look at today. When we are solving a math problem, there are always multiple ways for us to get the answer. The ways that we are going to talk about today are on your screen. The first way that we are going to talk about is equal groups. We are going to talk about how, when sorting your items into equal groups, you can figure out the total. Vice versa, or opposite, if we have a total, we can figure out how many groups we may need. After we talk about equal groups, I believe that we're going to talk about a tape diagram. A tape diagram is very similar to equal groups, except instead of putting individual pieces inside of our groups, we are going to use whole numbers, like you see here. We're also going to talk about arrays today, which is something that you are very familiar with, and those are our rows and columns. We'll take a look at a number line, and then finally, a multiplication expression. All right, guys, let's begin. Here is our anchor problem for today. As I shared yesterday, when we do our lessons, we are always going to work with an anchor problem. And that is so that you get more exposed to looking at math in terms of the real world. Here's today's problem. Miss Harrison is ordering markers on Amazon for her third grade art students. Each marker company sells the markers packaged differently. Crayola sells one box that has 8 markers in it. RoseArt has one box that has 10 markers in it. And Crazy Art sells 5 boxes with 8 markers. Here is our math problem that we are going to solve today. If Miss Harrison needs 40 markers, how many packages would she need to purchase from Crayola? So today we are just focusing on Crayola because that is where Miss Harrison is going to buy her markers from. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump in. When we begin to look at a problem, all problems involving multiplication have factors and a product. The factors are the things that you multiply together, and the product is the answer that you get. So what we're going to begin thinking about as we use our multiple representations is what we think our factors are and what we think our product is. Here is our first slide with a pencil. All right, guys, get those writing utensils ready. We are now about to solve. So let's read the problem one more time. Miss Harrison is ordering markers on Amazon for her third grade art class. Each marker company sells the markers packaged differently. If Miss Harrison needs 40 markers, how many packages would she need to purchase from Crayola? And if you remember, Crayola sells one box of 8 markers. So we are going to start by solving this problem using the equal group strategy. For our particular problem, our equal groups are going to be based on the number of markers in a box. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to draw little dots to represent the markers in each box. Someone tell me, how many total markers do we need? Please answer in the Nearpod at this time. Did you say 40? Absolutely. We are looking to get a total of 40 markers. So we are going to create equal groups, or in this case, boxes, until we get to 40 markers. All right, let's get started. Box number 1, as all Crayola boxes will have 8 markers. Let's see if I can make this a little darker for us. Let's see. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here is my first box of Crayola markers, and it has 8 markers inside. Have I gotten to my 40 yet? No, I have not. So that means I'm going to need another box. So here is box number 1. Let's do box number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have another box. What is 8 from my first box plus 8 from my next box? That's right. 8 plus 8 is 16. So if I get 2 boxes, I now have 16 markers, which is not quite 40. That means we need another equal group. And so I think you guys understand at this point, and on your paper, go ahead and draw your next box of 8 markers. So here's box 3. And we are going to add box 3. So 16 plus 8. 16 plus 8. If you know off the top of your head, you can answer. Otherwise, you can count on 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So if I have 3 boxes, I now have 24 markers. Not quite 40. So what should we do? We need another box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's my next box. This is box number 4, making sure we keep count. Next, we're going to add 8 to it. And 24 plus 8 equals 32. We're now at 32 markers. We're getting a whole lot closer to that 40, but we're not quite there, which means we need another box of markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put them in a box. This is box number 5. So 32 plus 8 is, that's right, it's 40. We have now made it to 40. How many equal groups did it take for us to get 40 markers? Well, our equal groups are not the individual markers. Our equal groups are the boxes themselves. And how many boxes do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will need 5 boxes in order to get 40 markers using equal groups. Great job, guys. All right, let's look at another strategy. We're going to use the exact same problem, reminding you that the pencil is in the corner. Last time, we used the equal group strategy in order to figure out how many boxes Ms. Harrison needed. This time, we're going to draw a tape diagram. I shared with you when we looked at our anchor chart that a tape diagram is very similar to equal groups, except we're not drawing pictures. We're going to write a whole number inside each portion of our diagram. Can anyone guess what whole number we're going to write inside of our portion of the diagram? Please tell me what that number is on your Nearpod. Did you say 8? If you did, you're absolutely correct. And the reason we're going to do 8 is because there are 8 markers in each box. So let's get started. We're going to start with an 8. And I'm going to put it in a box because I'm creating a tape diagram. So there's my first 8. And as you guys shared on the last one, what's our goal? We are trying to get to 40 markers. So we're going to keep going until we get to 40. And so I'm going to start with 8. And 8 by itself, we know, isn't 40. And so I'm going to add another 8. And I learned in my last one that 8 plus 8 is actually 16. I'm going to put a little 16 down here just so that I can keep track of how far I have to go. All right. On your model, you know that you're going to need another 8. Because remember, we're trying to make it to 40. And we know that 16 plus 8 is 24. And I'm going to put a 24 down here to remind myself. All right, keep drawing your tape diagram, adding another 8. And so 24 plus 8 is 32. So now we have 32 markers. We are almost at 40, but we're going to need another 8 because 32 plus 8 gives us 40. And so remember, our problem isn't about just getting to 40 because they gave us the 40. The question asked us how many packages we would need to purchase from Crayola. And the number of packages is the number of boxes, which is the same as the number of boxes on our tape diagram, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 5 packages, which is the exact same answer that we got using our equal groups, but then we just used a different strategy. Let's take a look at another strategy. This time, we are going to solve the problem by creating an array. But before we do that, I'm going to see if you've been paying attention. There's a question in my speech bubble up here that I want you to think about. If there are 8 rows in the array that we're about to make, how many columns are there going to be? If there are 8 rows in the array that we're about to make, how many columns do you think that there will be based on the last 2 models we did? Write your answer on the Nearpod. All right, guys, well, let's check those answers. We are going to make an array, and we are going to make that array with 8 rows. And so let's pick a color, and I'm just going to draw some little squiggly lines because it's easy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. And so these are going to be the beginnings of my rows. And I am going to create columns in order to get to my magic number, which of course is 40. So I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. There is my array. And if I have 8 rows, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And my 5 columns tells me that Miss Harrison needs 5 packages. All right, great job, guys. Now, the other question here said, if there are 8 columns, how many rows would there be? So we could have taken this exact same problem and we could have flipped our array and made it the other way. And if we had 8 columns, we know that we would have had 5 rows. We are almost there, guys. This time, looking at the same problem, but I'm going to have you make a number line. So on your note sheet, go ahead and draw a straight line across your paper with 2 arrows on the ends, just like mine. And so what we're trying to figure out with our number line is, if our jumps are 8 units long, how many times, and that's a little typo there, how many times would we have to jump in order to get to 40? And so that's what we're going to do. We are going to jump until we get to 40. And so I'm just going to make a 40 here on the end of my number line. And I'm actually going to start with 0 because before Miss Harrison buys markers, she doesn't have any. So we know that there are 8 markers in each box. So we are going to jump 8 spaces each time because that will represent the whole box. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to change my color. All right. So when Miss Harrison buys her first box of markers, she will have 8 markers. So this jump represents 1 box and she has 8 markers. Remember, we're trying to get all the way to 40. So we're going to hop again. And it's another box. So it's got 8 markers in it. We've done this on our other problems. 8 plus 8 is 16. We're going to jump again. It's a whole box, so it's got 8 markers in it, and that is 16 plus 8, which is 24. Not quite at 40, so we're going to jump again. It's a whole box, so 24 plus 8 is 32. And we are almost there, guys. We're going to jump one more time with a whole box of 8 markers. And that takes us to our magic number, which is 40. And so the question is, how many times did we have to jump? Well, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We jumped 5 times. And the reason we jump 5 times is because 5 represents how many packages Miss Harrison needs to purchase. Guys, I think you're getting a hang of this. We have one more representation to look at, and then it's going to be time for you to do some of this work on your own. This time, we're going to create an equation. And we are going to start our equation with the information we already have. In the very beginning of our lesson, I spoke to you guys about some vocabulary terms, and those terms were factor and product. And this problem has two factors and one product. So, our first factor is the number of markers in a box. On your sheet, on your note sheet, you're going to write the number of markers that you know are in the box. And do we know? At this point, I think everyone knows that there are 8 markers in a box. And because we have done all of those other representations, we know how many packages Miss Harrison has to buy. That's right. Miss Harrison has to buy 5 packages. That is our other factor. And then our product is the total or the number of markers that Miss Harrison needs at the end. And that number is 40. So through all of our representations today, we have learned that 8 times 5 equals 40. If I was answering this question, I would want to make sure that I answer the question using a full sentence. And sometimes I need to use multiple sentences to express my thinking. The sentence frame that I would use is Miss Harrison needs to buy 5 packages of markers. I know this because, and I could say that I used my array and found that there were 8 rows and 5 columns. I could say that when counting by 8s on the number line, I had to hop 5 times. I could say because when I skip count, I know that 5 times 8 is 40. Whatever strategy makes sense to you, you would explain in your sentence. It is now time for you to do one by yourselves. Are we ready, guys? Here we go. Miss Harrison is still ordering markers on Amazon for her 3rd grade art students, and the companies still sell the markers packaged differently. Miss Harrison still needs 40 markers, but this time she's purchasing from Rose Art. When purchasing from Rose Art, there aren't 8 markers in a box, there are 10. I want you to use what you have learned about multiple representations to answer the following questions on your Nearpod. Which of these sets of equal groups represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would need to buy if she was buying Rose Art markers? Which of these pictures, of equal groups represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would buy if she was purchasing Rose Art markers? Answer on your Nearpod at this time. Let's take a look at the next one. Which of these tape diagrams represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would need to buy from Rose Art? Which tape diagram represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would need to buy from Rose Art? Answer in the Nearpod at this time. All right, before I do the array, guys, we are going to go back and check your answers in just a second. Which array represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would need to purchase from Rose Art? Which array represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would need to purchase from Rosart? Answer on your Nearpod. Which number line represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would need to purchase from Rosart? Which number line correctly represents the number of packages Miss Harrison would need to purchase from Rosart? Answering your Nearpod at this time. All right, guys, well, let's check your work. Starting with our equal groups. So remember, there are 10 markers in each box, and Miss Harrison needs 40 markers. And so if I was to take out my markers and draw dots with them or just dump them out and count them, I would find that A is the correct answer. I would need 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes of markers. And I can skip count here as well. 10, 20, 30, 40. So we've got some simple mental math going on here. So if you got A was the correct answer. All right, so I tried to trip you up a little bit on the tape diagram because a lot of these answers actually look correct. And so for this problem, you need to remember how you create a tape diagram. Well, first and foremost, we know that we can go ahead and eliminate choice D. And we're going to eliminate choice D because the number 5 doesn't appear in our problem at all. And the markers aren't sold in sets of 5. They're sold in sets of 10. The other choice that I am going to eliminate is I'm going to actually eliminate A because when we do a tape diagram, we're not starting with 0. However, A is the perfect setup if we were going to create a number line. So now let's look at choices B and C and talk about why they are different. In choice B, they use the number 10 in each box. In choice C, they were counting up. So 10, 20, 30, 40. When we create a tape diagram is just like creating a set of equal groups where what is contained in each box is the total amount inside of the group. Therefore, the answer for our tape diagram is B. We should have written the number 10 4 different times. Let's take a look at our array. For our array, we already know that there are 10 markers in each box. And so one easy thing for me to do is to look at the rows and columns and figure out which one does not have 10 represented in a row or column. So if I look at A, I already know that going straight down, this isn't 10 because this just doesn't look like 10. It's too short. But I could quickly count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I know that A is not the correct answer. If I look at C, I'm going to count across again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so C might be a correct answer. So we're going to leave that on the board. If I look at B, going straight across, I know that that's not 10. That looks like 4. But if I count down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm short a few, so I know the answer is not B. If I take a look at D, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Uh-oh. Changed my slide. Sorry, guys, because I can't get over there. So that number, that red one over there is 10. And so the answer could either be C or D. And so because we have already done this problem several times, we now need to remember how many rows would have been associated with this problem if we have 10. Well, if I don't know off the top of my head, I know that I can count on 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 over here, and 10, 20, 30, 40 over here. And our problem says that Miss Harrison needs 40 markers. So the correct answer is D. And finally, taking a look at our number line. Let's see which of these choices can we go ahead and eliminate. Well, I'm going to eliminate A. And the reason I'm going to eliminate A is because Ms. Harrison needs 40 markers and I see the number 50 here. And so that's how I went about eliminating A. I'm also going to eliminate B because what did we say? Ms. Harrison needs 40 markers and this one only goes up to 32. Looking at C and D, they look very similar and they have the same number of hops, but it's a number line. And a number line, the numbers have to get larger each time. And D actually looks more like a tape diagram without boxes than it does a number line because the numbers don't get any bigger. So the correct answer is not D, which leaves us with C is the correct answer. How did you do, guys? Pretty sure you guys did a wonderful job. All right, well, let's review. Today, we learned about 5 different ways to represent multiplication. We looked at expressions or equations, equal groups, tape diagram, array, and the number line. Well, now you are going to go to your Google Classroom and there is a lesson posted for you on multiple representations. It is 5 questions and you are going to answer each of those questions to the best of your ability. If you are in need of support with reading the questions, there is a sign that you can press there that will have the questions read to you. And you are to answer those questions before class ends. Once you finish those questions, if you have time left before the end of class, please log into Clever and work on Dreambox. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a wonderful day.